A freshwater giant sprawls across central Canada, surpassing Lake Ontario in size and nearly matching Lake Erie's vast expanse. This body of water spans over 24,000 square kilometers, claiming the title of Earth's 11th largest freshwater lake. Yet it remains invisible in discussions about North America's most critical water resources. Lake Winnipeg commands the continental heartland, drawing from a drainage basin covering nearly 1 million square kilometers. But its environmental crisis and water security implications go largely unnoticed. The lake stretches approximately 420 kilometers from north to south, positioned at North America's longitudinal center. Two distinct basins define its structure. The northern basin extends to a maximum width of 100 kilometers. The southern basin contracts dramatically to just 40 kilometers across. A channel only 2.5 kilometers wide connects these basins in an area called the Narrows, which also marks the lake's deepest point at 36 meters below the surface. Lake Winnipeg's average depth measures just 12 meters. This shallow profile presents critical implications for water quality and ecosystem health. Despite exceeding Lake Ontario in surface area and nearly matching Lake Erie, it holds substantially less water than any traditional Great Lake. Lake Erie, though only slightly larger, contains significantly more water. This shallowness determines the lake's ecological behavior and heightens its vulnerability to environmental pressures threatening water security across the region. The lake formed between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago during the Pleistocene epoch. The Laurentide ice sheet blanketed much of Canada, including all of Manitoba. This massive ice formation carved basins and depressions in bedrock while depositing sediments as it advanced and retreated. Melting ice filled these depressions with water, creating proglacial lakes at the margins of retreating glaciers. Lake Winnipeg originated as part of glacial Lake Agassiz, a water body exceeding all modern Great Lakes combined in size. Around 7,000 years ago, Lake Agassiz drained permanently, leaving behind several smaller lakes including Lake Winnipeg, Lake Manitoba, and Lake Winnipegosis. The flat, fertile plains surrounding these lakes, including the Red River Valley, represent the former bottom of Lake Agassiz, now covered in sediment deposited over millennia. The lake basin sits at only 217 meters above sea level. Three major river systems supply Lake Winnipeg with water. The Red River delivers runoff from farmlands in North Dakota and Minnesota. The Saskatchewan River transports water from as far as the Rocky Mountains in Alberta. The Winnipeg River drains Lake of the Woods and the boreal forest of northwestern Ontario. These rivers channel water into the lake from a watershed spanning 980,000 square kilometers across 4 Canadian provinces and 4 U.S. states. All water from Lake Winnipeg exits through a single outlet. The Nelson River flows from the lake's northern end, running northeast toward Hudson Bay and ultimately the Arctic Ocean. This river drops approximately 200 meters in elevation across roughly 650 kilometers to Hudson Bay. This northern drainage system separates Lake Winnipeg from the Great Lakes, which drain southeast toward the Atlantic Ocean via the St. Lawrence River. The shallow southern basin warms rapidly under summer sun while receiving nutrients from the vast agricultural watershed. This productivity historically established Lake Winnipeg as one of Canada's most important commercial fisheries. Species like walleye, whitefish, and northern pike sustained both Indigenous communities and commercial operations for generations. Starting in the 1990s, the lake began experiencing severe algal blooms, particularly cyanobacteria. These blooms blanket huge portions of the lake surface during late summer, turning water murky green and producing toxins harmful to wildlife and humans. Excess nitrogen and phosphorus enter the lake from agricultural fertilizers, washing off farmland, municipal sewage treatment plants, and livestock operations. The Red River Valley contains some of North America's most intensively farmed land, producing wheat, potatoes, and sugar beets. Lake Winnipeg's shallow depth prevents nutrients from settling into deep sediment. They remain suspended in the water column, available for algae consumption. The lake's elongated shape allows winds to concentrate algae along shorelines. A massive watershed relative to lake volume creates short residence time, meaning water cycles through quickly, while continuously delivering nutrients that fuel algae growth. Beach closures affect tourism and recreation throughout the region. Property values along the shoreline have declined. The commercial fishery faces mounting challenges. Indigenous communities that have relied on the lake for thousands of years watch traditional food sources become compromised. These economic and environmental consequences ripple through communities dependent on lake resources. Indigenous nations, including the Cree and Ojibwe, have occupied these shores for thousands of years, even before Lake Winnipeg took its current form. The lake provides essential food sources through fishing, serves as a vital travel route connecting distant territories, and holds sacred significance in ceremonies and cultural identity. Traditional knowledge passed down through generations reflects deep understanding of the lake's rhythms, fish populations, and seasonal patterns. Gimli, founded by Icelandic immigrants in 1875 on the western shore, represents the largest Icelandic community outside Iceland. Hekla village on Hekla Island began as an Icelandic fishing settlement in the late 1800s. Today it forms part of Hekla Grindstone Provincial Park. The lake sits about an hour's drive north of Winnipeg, serving as a major recreational destination. Southern communities benefit from highway access. Northern settlements remain accessible only by boat during summer, ice roads carved across frozen surfaces in winter, or float planes year-round. The 5 traditional Great Lakes form an interconnected system draining southeast through the St. Lawrence River to the Atlantic Ocean. They share considerably deeper profiles than Lake Winnipeg, with Lake Superior reaching depths of 406 meters. All 5 lakes straddle the border between the United States and Canada. Lake Winnipeg drains north through the Nelson River to Hudson Bay and the Arctic Ocean. It lies entirely within Manitoba. This fundamental difference in drainage patterns explains why Lake Winnipeg, despite its massive size and continental watershed, remains excluded from the Great Lakes designation. The watershed's continental scope means activities across 4 Canadian provinces and 4 U.S. states directly impact water quality. Agricultural practices in North Dakota affect conditions hundreds of kilometers away in Manitoba. What happens to Lake Winnipeg reflects land and water management decisions across a huge portion of North America's interior. The algal blooms signal broader challenges in freshwater ecosystem management. The declining fishery reflects changes affecting freshwater systems across the continent. Efforts to restore and protect Lake Winnipeg could provide critical lessons for managing other large, shallow lakes worldwide facing similar environmental pressures.